Welcome back to the Texas Women in Music podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Rose, and today we're diving into the world of a true Texas artist. Katie Stewart is a North Texas native whose creative journey blossomed in Waco back in 2013. Born into a family where strings and piano were part of everyday life, Katie spent 15 years studying and performing classical piano before teaching herself guitar and stepping onto live stages in 2014. Her music is a soulful blend of Southern blues with a folk twist, inspired by legends like Lightnin' Hopkins, Willie Nelson, Arlo Guthrie, and Bob Dylan. From competing in songwriter festivals to performing during South by Southwest, from recording at Orb Studios to releasing her debut album called Haunted in 2023, Katie's career reflects resilience, artistry, and a voice that brings humanity into every performance. She's back on stage, balancing motherhood with music, and already writing her next project for a hopeful 2026 release. Katie Stewart, welcome to the podcast. Katie, your story is rooted in both classical training and Texas grit. I'd love to start by taking it back to what it was like growing up in a musical family and how those early influences shape your path into blues and folk.
Yeah, so actually, my grandfather was a violinist and my mother played the piano. She was more interested in figure skating. They lived up north, and so she didn't continue with piano. And so, during Christmases and the holidays, it was always kind of everybody was around the piano. Interestingly enough, nobody was singing. Of course, like Christmas carols and stuff. But so that at an early age, music was always very important to me and just around. And one Christmas, I got a Walkman, a CD player, and I was so excited. And my first album that I had was Shania Twain, "Come On Over." And I learned all the lyrics. And yeah, I always kind of wrote music, and the blues had always, some way or another, whether it be in a piece that I was playing for piano or, here I am saying I played piano. I don't know if I mentioned that. Yeah. So I started taking piano and then competed and all of that stuff. But yeah, it just kind of, I always kind of wrote poetry as like an outlet for me. Classical music is very structured as far as the manuscript and what you have. There's no like changing that. And so when I moved to Central Texas, I met this group of songwriters and singers, and they were like, do you do your own stuff? And it just kind of like a light bulb went off. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I write poetry, I can play music. Is there a reason I haven't put these together? It didn't connect for me. And yeah, so then it was like this, burst of creativity. Definitely influences from, you can't escape mainstream growing up,
Right.
years ago. That's just kind of all that we had. But I had an eclectic group of our albums, I guess. My dad was a DJ growing up in high school, and so he had a very wide array of music and albums. And I loved Frank Sinatra, and I listened to Whitney Houston, but then I also loved Willie Nelson. And so it's just like this big mix and cross of all kind of music.
That's awesome. Tell us about your connection to Texas.
Yeah, so my mother was from Michigan. My dad was originally from Lubbock, but grew up in Waco. And so I've been in Texas my whole life. And, I've been in Central Texas, I've been in North Texas, I've been, here and there, kind of all over, not quite too far south, not quite too far west, but everything else, yeah, it's been in my family for a long time, with the exception of my mother. And actually, her mother was from Michigan and her father was from Italy. And they moved to Texas because my uncle, older brother, had moved to Texas. So they just hauled the whole family.
Oh, wow. That's
Mhm.
neat. Tell us about the instruments you play and how you got started.
Yeah, so I briefly touched on the piano, but I started expressing interest about 6 or 7, and the piano was um, everything to me. It was my outlet, it was my love, it was my stress, it was everything, it kind of balled up into one. And my teacher was actually a drum major at, I want to say it was like East Texas Commerce or something. It's part of the A&M system now. But, as I got older, I had to, I wasn't just in grade school. I had to figure out, okay, I need to do a phys ed, I need to do a music art or whatever. So my stepmom played the flute. And so I thought, well, I'll just play the flute. I just didn't, I didn't think like I can. I just thought, okay, well, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
And I did that for, I think 3 years, 2 or 3 years, excuse me. And then it was time to consider marching band. And I never really had like this burning desire to march, but I don't know, I was open to it. And my teacher said, no, you don't, because it was like, I didn't know the level of commitment that I would have been making. And I had already spent so much of my time in piano and I didn't want to give up piano. And she was like, there's no way that you can do both. So you decide. And I was like, okay, I guess that's the end of my flute days. So I've barely picked up a flute here and there. But anyhow, I always wanted to play guitar. And this is before YouTube and before things were just like, just download an app and you can learn. And so I had gotten one in high school, but, I didn't have any books, I didn't have a teacher, and it just didn't happen. And then I was living in Fort Worth and I had really been wanting to play. And I thought, I'm just going to go and I'm just going to charge my credit card, even though I shouldn't. I'm going to go buy a guitar. And so, yeah, I bought a guitar and started playing.
That's so awesome. Nothing held you back.
Well,
That's
a
really
little bit,
great.
several
Well,
years
yeah.
went by.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to wait anymore.
Yeah, but you had that confidence to even just try flute and you did this and did this and it was just
Well, and it's funny, like it does sound like I can just do it, but when you start with piano, it's so hard because like I'm biased and people are like, oh, well, you played piano, so of course. But when you play piano first, it's so, no pun intended, but it's so instrumental in your foundation to what you play next. So,
oh.
like flute is in treble clef, and some of your horns are in bass, and I haven't played horns, so I don't know that everybody, but I knew flute was in treble clef because of my stepmom, and so I could already read music, so it was just a matter of an adaptation. I was used to playing with two hands. Now it's two hands with one clef, no big deal. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It's just like
wow.
it was just
Yeah.
an adaptation. You just pivot. And so that's why I think piano is so important to learn for any musician, especially if you're just starting or you're wanting to learn an instrument. Start with piano, and you're going to feel dumb if you're an adult going, tinkering around. But you have to learn the basics to really understand the full scope.
Wow, that makes
Sorry, I
sense.
don't know if my email ping just went off, so sorry about
Oh
that.
no, you're good. Didn't hear a thing. You're good.
Okay, good.
When did you realize you had vocal talent?
Gosh, it's a blur because growing up, I grew up in a really old house that was very poorly insulated, and so there was a lot of echo that happened. And so
Acoustics.
we had this long hallway, and so I would like, run down the hallway singing Whitney Houston and all these crazy songs just to be silly. And I never, nobody ever told me, oh, you got a good voice or anything. Like I say, nobody in my immediate family had really been singing, and so um, I don't know. I think it's when I started playing guitar and I thought, well, I can hear the tone and I know the pitch. I can get there if it's in my key. I mean, it was a little bit of a learning curve, but I don't know, I just kind of did it and hoped that it sounded good. And then, I got good feedback and I thought, okay. And so I just, kept at it and strengthened my voice. But I've had no vocal coaching. I just kind of do what I know.
That's wonderful. You're naturally talented.
Well, thank you.
What or who inspired you to pursue music performances?
As far as live music goes,
Mhm. Either or.
yeah. So, you know, not to go back to the piano so often, but growing up, that was a way to learn how to perform because you were either in front of a judge who literally had your music and is judging everything you're doing right there, watching you like
Oh,
you're not
wow.
going to mess up, or, recitals as a kid. And we didn't do that through the duration of my, musical piano time, but you kind of understand how to perform pretty quickly. And so when I was playing with my group of music friends and I started playing some of my own music and just got more comfortable with the guitar, and because I had picked it up that spring, and then in the fall I moved, and so it's still a very new learning, but I was picking it up. And they just said, several of them were like, you should play out. And I just go, well, how do you do that? It's like it was just so new to me. And they were like, you just do it. You just go to the venue and you say, I play music, and you either audition or you send them a recording and you do it. And I was like, okay. And so that's when I started.
Oh, wow. That's really
Yeah, it was a
cool.
little scary in the beginning.
Oh, you just go, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
you just,
Yeah, let me
and like I
see if I can
say,
wing this.
yeah, but when you come from a background, I was actually just talking to somebody about this today. When you come from a background that you're used to performing, that takes a huge chunk out of the unknown and the like, this is so new, because that's typically the hardest part that people have to get over is like, now you're in front of this crowd of people. But if you've, done it for even a few years before you, pivot to music, if you're a public speaker or whatever, it's not as terrifying. I mean, there's still times where you're like, okay, gear up, here we go.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, your knees are knocking.
Right. Calm down, butterflies. I
Right,
got this.
right.
Who are your biggest musical influences?
Oh my goodness. It's hard to choose. Um, I mean, I would say probably top 4 or 5 for sure would be like Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, um, the old blues guys. Like we're talking like from the 30s or something. I mean, I don't even know what decade. I mean, it's um, like Lightning Hopkins. He wasn't quite that old, but Lightning Hopkins, Blind Willie McTell, um, Son House, Ma Rainey. That's definitely the ones that I think I take the most like blues influence from. And then, I mean, mostly, I mean, if I had to pick my favorite country singer, bar none, it would be Willie Nelson. I mean, there's some
Oh, yeah.
great ones coming down the line now, but as far as my influences when I first started, and even I guess now, um, Willie's old stuff, like Shotgun Willie and, uh, oh gosh, I'm thinking of Bob Dylan now. I can't even think of the other Willie Nelson, but like Bringing It All Back Home, Blood on the Tracks, those Bob Dylan albums are fantastic. And interestingly enough, I was thinking about this a while back, is like a lot of my influences are males, and the women are out there, but it's like immediately come to mind, you think of performing music, you think of men, because just typically it's a man headlining or whatever.
Yeah.
So definitely those are my top. But like I say, growing up with anything from Gloria Estefan to like pop music to Frank Sinatra, I mean, it's the whole gamut here.
Yeah. That's good though. I mean, because you don't want to be stuck in a tunnel of just
Absolutely.
one genre.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I had a CD collection growing up, and it was everything from like Duran Duran to ELO and all this stuff, and it
Hmm.
got stolen, and I was like,
Oh
they're gonna be
man.
they're gonna be so upset.
All right. You were expecting a genre, epically failed.
Too bad.
Oh man.
So clearly your roots run deep and your influences are rich. Let's move into how that translates onto stage, because live performance seems to be where your heart really comes alive. I've seen you in person. You're amazing. Katie, you've played everywhere from songwriter competitions to South by Southwest and beyond. Let's talk about your live performances. What's your most memorable performance experience? I love this question. I love this question.
I was hoping that you wouldn't ask me something like that. um, you know, I don't know that. Okay, so I'll say memorable. It doesn't have to be the most positive or the most negative, but I used to play in Belton pretty frequently, and I was playing at the Gin, which is right there on the Nolan Creek. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And it's a really pretty, restaurant. They've got a, patio where it can be more casual, or, you can have more. Anyway, so on the patio is like, a pretty big staircase. I mean, outdoor to get to your, playing spot. So I would park kind of around there, but it was this huge hill. And I didn't have like, now they have like the bow stick or whatever it's called. It's like almost one unit kind of thing. Mine was like these two awful big speakers and these awful heavy speaker stands. And I'm like 5 foot, so I'm always like looking around like, can somebody give me a hand?
Right.
And it just kind of, I don't know, it was really hard. That show was, it was hot. It was the summertime, and I get hot when I play. I'm like full body into my show, and so I don't like to get gross before my show because then I'm gross for like hours.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't know. I think it was a humbling experience for me because it was like, okay, you're the roadie, you're the marketing person, you're the performer, you're the accountant, you're all the things. And sometimes it just feels like this heavy burden. But it was also this like dichotomy of like, oh, I was so annoyed. But then I felt really thankful that I'm doing it. Like there's no, I mean, of course I'm not like this household name, but like I'm doing it. And there's so many people that want to do it, and then for one reason or another they don't. And that was a really kind of I think a defining moment for me because I'm kind of like processing this with you. I really remember that, and that was kind of early in my performing, and from that moment I felt proud of what I was doing, not like I'm just like the help here slugging this speaker up on this speaker
Yeah.
stand. It was like, no, this is my craft, this is what I'm doing, and I need to love all parts of it, because who knows, maybe someday I won't have to be the roadie and the this and the that, and I'll think back and go, remember when I couldn't hardly get those speakers up those stairs?
Yeah, you're the boss.
Yeah,
You're the
all
one
the
woman
things.
show. How do you mentally prepare for a live show?
Um, it used to take like a whole day when I was single and I didn't have my husband and my daughter. It would be like, all right, I have a show at 6, so I'll still get ready at I'll start loading up at 4, take a shower, and I need to be at the venue by 5, and so I would, never talk much. I try to preserve my voice and so forth, drink hot tea, and but also just I never like to listen to music before my show, which seems kind of weird. I mean, I'll listen to it on the way to my show, but when I'm getting ready, I'm thinking about my songs, I'm thinking in my head about my capo, where my capo goes, um do I have all my equipment, that sort of thing. And then once I'm in the car, I kind of mentally do my checklist, and I always say guitar, guitar stand, mic stand, because I've forgotten some of those things before. And so when I go guitar, guitar stand, mic stand, and I move my truck, and I'm like, all right, now I can turn the music on. But now with my husband and my daughter, it's like, no talking. That's cute. It's like, you're doing good to get the venue before the show starts,
Yeah, you have no time to overthink it.
No. And, it's kind of a good thing, because sometimes I would like, psych myself out and be like, oh man, I hope I don't mess this up or that up. And no, I don't have time to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you plan your set list for a live show?
Well, I kind of cheat. So I've had a pretty similar, I mean, I wouldn't say it's exactly the same by any means, but I've had a pretty similar set list for a long time. So I always start with like my bones, and I think, okay, is it a 2 hour? Is it an hour, hour and a half? Um, like I've done a wedding before, I've done like a cocktail hour. And so, I think, all right, what's the right energy for the top of the set? Are we going to have an extended break? How are we going to come back in, and that sort of thing. But honestly, I just pick the songs I like to sing, and there's few songs in there that I'm like, oh God, I gotta play this song again. I've played this song for 10 years. I'm tired of playing this song. But, I have to remind myself, like somebody, like, I mean, when the first time you heard me play, it's like, just because I know people and they come and hear me play, they may not have heard me play ever. Or maybe it's been 5 years that they've never heard me play. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
you have to think, okay, every listener is potentially a brand new listener. And that's what kind of goes, okay, what songs do I need to add on here that I haven't added?
Yeah. And hearing you on your album versus live is different too. I mean, naturally,
Hmm.
that kind of goes without saying. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great experience.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah. Who are your favorite musicians to play with?
Well, to be honest, I haven't played with a whole lot. I've played with a handful of people several years ago. I really enjoyed playing with Colton Hawkins. He's a local Central Texas artist. He is a great guitar player. He was funny. He was very disarming. I was still, fairly new when I played with him, and I knew what I was doing, but still new to performing just in the area. And he was very welcoming and complimentary, and that just made me feel more at ease.
Right.
And then Luke LaGrange, he used to live in Austin area, but he's now in Dallas, and I played with him in Fort Worth a couple of times, and he's so laid back and so cool. And I think what complemented Colton to my music was his guitar playing, and what complimented me to Luke was his the covers that he did were very complimentary to the same ones I was doing. But now I'm playing with Jay Smith, who he's my guitar player. So he's an excellent guitar player. He's great. I spent a long time looking for somebody that would play with me that is, reliable, dependent, or, dependable, but also like had the grit and the talent and the focus. So oftentimes you find somebody that's got the talent, but not the focus, or they just don't really want to play out.
Mm,
Or you've got somebody who's really eager and, really wants to play, but they still kind of need to get a little better. And Jace was that perfect match. And going back to being the marketing person and the accountant and all thing, I have to think about it like a business.
yeah.
And he was the perfect fit, and we have a great partnership with our performances. And he's never missed rehearsal, and so Jace has been wonderful to play with. But I'd like to play with a few more people in town, but it just hasn't happened that way, which is fine. It's no big deal.
All in good time. I'm sure it'll
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
hmm
Have you had any interesting or funny fan interactions? This is my second favorite question.
Um, yes, actually. So I've had quite a few, but the one that I would say is most memorable, I was still, gosh, within the first year of playing, performing live, I was playing at the Grape in Waco, and my aunt was living in Dallas at the time. And the Grape, it was like, not long after happy hour. The Grape was really busy, and there were a lot of people there. And we were doing like a song swap, me and two other people. And during this show, it's not a break, but I just finished my song, and he kind of comes up to me, and I'm thinking, because we're all seated, and I'm like, okay, like what's going on here? Like we're in the middle of a show. And he sticks his hand out and he says, "My name is AC. I know your aunt." And I was like, my aunt, I was trying to place him, and then we realized my aunt, and I was like, what? This is crazy, because here I am in Waco. And so I ended up messaging her, and I said, this gentleman, and she said, oh, he's my friend, and they ended up getting married.
Oh, wow.
So they were friends, and they ended up getting married, but I'll never forget him coming up to me, and I just thought, what is happening? Like, it was just so crazy, because I hadn't been in Waco for very long at that point.
Yeah. Pretty random. That's cool, though.
Yes.
The music industry is about more than just stage. It's also about navigating growth, challenges, and opportunities. Up next, we're going to talk to Katie about her take on the music industry. In 2021, you recorded with Orb Recording Studios in Austin and Renowned Studio Productions in Waco, which eventually led to your debut album, Haunted. What was it like putting that album together as an independent?
Very difficult. Um, Rewarding, but very difficult. I had been wanting to do it for a long time, and I didn't know who I was going to record with. I didn't know if I was going to have other musicians on it. And I think COVID was like a big, you know, point where I think a lot of people decided, like, kind of live your life and quit sitting around and thinking and doing and wanting and wishing and shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's time to do. And
Yeah.
so I had actually, this is like a total aside, but it's too cool not to tell you. So I, during this time when I'm wanting to think about my album, I had always wanted to get into acting and film and that sort of thing. And I did theater in high school and all that. But I got signed with an agent for acting engagements. And my first, it was so cool. My first gig, I guess you could say, was I was going to be an extra for a Wild Turkey commercial with Matthew McConaughey in Austin. And it was, oh, it was so cool. I was so excited. Well, everybody's in their, attire, and the dang, there was a huge rainstorm that came through. Huge. And we were supposed to be like outside around this campfire. Anyway, total puts the kibosh on that. It was so, so sad. But while we were sitting around waiting for the storm to potentially move on, I met Scott Garrett Graham, who is with Orb Recording Studios. So we sat there for, I mean, a good hour, if not 2 hours, talking about the recording process and what that would look like. And he was a sound engineer for Orb. I assume he's still there. I don't know if he still is, but he was very gracious and answered all my questions. And so that kind of really jump started what my outline and what my timeline and what my budget was going to be and all that stuff. So, but it was really hard because, I mean, not just even talking about the budget, but with that, Orb Recording Studios was very expensive. And so I'm like, I'm not trying to be here day in and day out. So I
Yeah.
recorded, I don't know, probably 4 songs, maybe 5 that day. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but you're not going to get it right every time, so you're playing the same song probably 4, maybe 5 times each. And that starts to wear you out because you're really hyper focused. You're not just, oh, it's fine. I'll just, you can flub it and move on. You need everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I had a few pieces that were not, I say pieces like piano. I had a few songs that were not up to par to my standards. So I knew Casey Pittman with Renowned Studios, and I didn't realize I didn't know that he had a recording studio. And so I ended up recording with him a few more, and he mastered it. And then he was very helpful in helping me understand like the distribution process, because everything's so different now.
Oh.
And it was definitely a learning curve, but I now know how to do it, and the next album will be a breeze.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool whenever you have like a resource that you can ask questions and
Yeah. Yeah, and
yeah.
I think more people should be open to that. I mean, I can't speak for everywhere, but I think in Central Texas, or at least what my experience has been, um, nobody really talks about it. Like as far as my contemporaries, everybody just
Yeah.
kind of has an album, or you don't, or you have a single, or it's online, or it's not. There's no like middle ground of like, hey, I want to do this. How did you do it? And I think there
Right.
needs to be more uh, support in that. I mean, I had a friend who he just released his album, I don't know, probably a couple months ago, and he was unsure about that process. And so I kind of verbally walked him through that several times, and then Casey helped him do the final distribution. And I think it really does take a team. Even if
Yeah.
you are a one woman show, one man show, you need a village.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you feel the music industry changed within the last few, what, years, months, whatever timeline you want to?
Yeah, gosh, everything's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, even what is it, 12 years ago or something like that when I started playing live, you know, it's not like it is now where like everything's on Facebook and everything's on Instagram and everything's on TikTok. I'm not even on TikTok, and like I need to get with the program, but even Spotify, like Spotify was around then, but it wasn't like how it is now where everybody has Spotify or everybody has
Yeah.
Apple Music or whatever. So I think it's evolved. So as it was changing in the last 10, 15 years, I think it made it easier. But now I think it's actually harder because going through especially the album distribution process, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes with licensing and making sure that you're connected to the right, organizations to collect royalties and all those things. Those are the nice things that a label would take care of for you. The marketing, all of that. Like those are the benefits.
Yeah.
But when you're independent, you get to make the decisions, and like being here on this podcast, who's to say you wouldn't have an agent or a manager or a label that would say, nah, we're not going to do that. And it's
Yeah.
something I really want to do, So it's twofold. I think the industry has changed. I think the industry has changed better for the listener, but I think it's still a double-edged sword for the performer and the musician, because while everybody values their freedom, and I want my freedom, let the record reflect. I don't want to release that freedom, but it would be nice to be able to have, um, you know, the experience and the connections that a label can offer.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned in your bio that you are performing as much as motherhood allows. Can you talk to us about how being a mom is changing your routine?
Man, is it ever? Before I was even pregnant, it was difficult to find time to write because, with my husband, he is a music lover, but he does not play anything but Spotify.
Ah,
There's no rhythm, poor thing, and he really tries, and I give him credit for that.
yeah,
But when I was single and I lived by myself, I lived in this little loft that it was just like my piano and my guitars and the dog, and so I could sit anywhere on the floor and just write. So that was challenging, but coming into motherhood, it's like I got to write in the shower and I got to write in the car.
try to
there's
memorize everything.
there's no time,
Yeah,
but I think it's a beautiful thing because it's given me that much more material to think about, and it puts a different perspective on your life, and how you see things and your actions and behaviors are completely, I don't want to say changed because you're still who you are, but self-awareness goes through the roof. And so I feel like between my self-awareness and my perspectives with her in my life have just kind of opened up even more of my creativity to think about other things that probably wouldn't have crossed my mind before I was a mom.
right.
Um, Another thing that's beautiful as far as trying to find time to perform and practice and all that is she's got this little, it looks like a ukulele, like it's small like a ukulele, but it's like this plastic guitar that looks like it's got fishing wire, it's like, it's not quality by any stretch.
Yeah,
But she's seen me rehearse, and I'll tell her, I'm talking about Jace, my guitar player, Mr. Jace is coming over to rehearse, so I need to rehearse before he comes so I'm ready, so she'll go get her little guitar, and
oh,
she's learning how to strum, and I haven't taught her anything. She
yeah,
just has picked up the movement watching me. And so it's like hard because I'm like, I want to play music more and I want to have more time to write, but getting to share it with her and see
yeah,
her learn is just as rewarding. Um, but yeah, it's been difficult to to find time to perform. And when she was younger, it's like I didn't want to miss. She's almost 3 now. I didn't want to miss the bath time, and and I was
yeah,
nursing, and oh my gosh, it's like and when you're in that moment, for any other women that maybe is watching this, or is venturing into motherhood, you go through this time where you feel like I'm never going to be myself again. I'm never going to get to do things I want to do again. I miss doing this, I miss doing that, and you kind of like have this dark cloud over you as far as who you are and your identity. And then you kind of come out on the other side of it and you're like, all right, I'm still me. I still got this. I just was like, I was a human feeding person for a
yeah,
while,
yes,
So, allowing a little human to survive with my body. So no big
yes,
deal.
yeah, yeah. You see the light, and
Yes. And it's
once you're on the
challenging.
other side, it's like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Right. You kind of like have amnesia, which is probably a good thing. This is the only reason humanity has kept on is motherhood amnesia.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, what's something about the music industry most people don't realize?
I would say time, a time, time to the time it takes to prepare to perform, but also the time it takes to gain that experience.
Mm,
So I'll touch on the first one. Uh, the time to perform is, when you try to book a venue and they say, well, your prices are higher than our budget or whatever, oftentimes a venue or a booking manager of a venue. And when I say venue, I don't mean just concerts. I mean bars, wineries, festivals, wherever you might play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's always frustrating because you feel like, okay, all they're thinking about is, oh, well, you're only playing 2 hours or you're only playing an hour. And they don't know or account for, all the rehearsal time that you've done.
Yeah.
Learning new songs. Learning new songs takes more than just rehearsal time. Writing songs, the time it takes to do the marketing and, draft up the promos and make sure that you got enough lead time to get your fans and your followers knowing where you're going to be. And, there's all this time that contributes to that performance. But then, the venue says, well, we can't afford to pay that. And so you're just kind of like, well, then I don't know what to tell you. That's difficult. And people don't realize that, sometimes it's not that I don't want to play, it's that I can't justify playing for XYZ. You have
Right.
to, especially as a mom, I have to figure out, is my time worth that, or would I rather be, spending it with my family? So that's really difficult. But also, I don't know for anybody else, but for me, when I started playing guitar and singing, I was just hungry. I wanted everybody to know my music as much as possible, and I was trying to share it, and I still want those things, but you don't realize that it just doesn't work that way. And you're telling yourself that in the back of your mind, like, oh, I know it's going to take time. But it's been like 12 it's been 12 years, like you have to decide, like, how committed are you, because it doesn't happen for everybody overnight. And even
Yeah.
the people that it seems like it's happened overnight, they're like, oh yeah, they were an overnight success with like 15 years of playing the grunt work and the
Yeah.
grunt bars and the places that they're really not wanting to play and they're really not making any money, but they know they need to play anyway. But
Yeah.
then everybody else that sees them be this big person is like, oh, they don't realize that. And so, for anybody that's venturing out and doing this and you're a beginner, just be patient. And that's the hardest thing, is to be patient, because you have to find this balance of, you know, being ambitious and being determined and stick with it, but also having the realization that, it's going to take some blood, sweat, and tears, literally, um, to really, really start gaining traction.
Yeah. Yeah. Persistence is key for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to emerging artists other than what you just said?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I always say. It's like, you hear so many people say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And it's kind of like what I was saying about guitar. I was sick of thinking about, I want it. But then when you do it, how bad do you want it? Are
Yeah.
you willing to maybe not stay up all night so you can be rested and you can write music in the morning? Or maybe you have to work your job where you have overtime hours, but you still accept the show that you're going to play because you need to play.
Yeah.
And so many people, I mean, it's just like anything, whether you're an athlete or you're a business person, an entrepreneur, it's how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
And what sacrifices are you willing to make? Because there will be sacrifices. So it's either, you know, financial sacrifices, relationships, or your time, or a hobby. I love gardening, but my garden looks like an actual jungle right now because I'm not willing to sacrifice my time with my daughter. I'm not willing to sacrifice my time for my music, and I work part time, and it's like you just have to do what you have to do. And gardening is low on the totem pole, but I do love
Yeah.
it. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's a very, that's a very simplistic, sacrifice. But I mean, yeah, anybody that needs some advice, like, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
And if you want it for life, then you have to do it for life.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Katie, we've got some lightning round questions here.
Oh boy, here we go.
Here we go. What's currently on your playlist?
Well, I wouldn't be a mom if Frozen wasn't on my playlist. So, yeah, aside from like Frozen on replay, I have been listening to I love Shotgun Willie. I know that I mentioned that earlier, but I love the Shotgun Willie album. I love A Song for You, Me and Paul. Side note, I'm actually, like, I think last year I was the top 1% on Spotify of listeners for Willie Nelson.
Oh,
1%. That's a lot of Willie Nelson.
yeah, it is.
I also really like, I can't think of the album name, but it's Mescalito by Ryan Bingham. Gosh, that's gonna bother me, but I love that song. No, Mescalito is the album. It's Borracho Station or Borracho Station. I love that song. Have you heard that one?
Uh-uh.
Oh, it's so good. I'll send it to you. The
Okay.
other one is Little Walter. I do love Little Walter, but Little Songs, the album, Culture Wall's newest album.
Okay.
I love that one. And what else am I? Oh, Big Mama Thornton. I'm Feeling All Right. I love that song. You can listen to that anywhere and you'll be in a good mood.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty wide. I mean, I guess it's all the influences I have, blues and country.
Right.
Now I'm like, my Spotify Wrapped is going to be so corrupt. I'm like, I'm playing The Jungle Book and The Little Mermaid, and I'm like, I want to know what my real stats are going to be. Not,
You be the
Elsa.
top 1% for Frozen.
Right. Oh my God, I'm going to die if that is. I wouldn't be surprised.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, I'll have to email y'all and say, oh, Lord, here we go.
Look what happened.
Oh, man.
What is your day job?
So I work part-time as a marketing director for a local gym. And it's great. It affords me the flexibility that I need to do my music and take care of my daughter. And, if I need to work from home, it's a great place. And I'm really happy there.
Very cool. I know they love you there too. Where can we see you perform this fall?
Yeah, so everything that I have as far as shows, and I always put it on my website first. Always first. Sometimes I wait to put it on social media because it's, a little far out. So you can always check out my website. This is kind of the time of year that I do more writing. I'm planning on working on my next album, doing the scratch recordings and that sort of thing. But also, I can't remember where I heard this and who's, told it to me, but it's a wonderful saying that flowers don't bloom all year round. And I love that because I feel like we give ourselves permission to then just take a breath, be with family, kind of absorb and soak in all the things that really matter.
Yeah.
To then kind of fuel and nourish the creativity that's going to come out on the other side.
Yes.
So,
from your beginnings in Waco to your debut album, Haunted, your exciting plans for the future, it's clear your music is as timeless as the Texas landscape itself.
oh, good times. No, it's been great. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, it's been an honor having you on here. I've been so excited to have this moment with you. So very good. Thank you for coming. To our listeners, be sure to check out Katie Stewart's album Haunted and keep an eye out for her upcoming work. You can also find her live on stage across Texas wherever motherhood and music align. Be sure to visit www.texaskatiestewart.com to purchase merch, to connect with her on social media channels, and to take a look at her tour schedule. To book Katie for a live show, send an email to booking@texaskatiestewart.com. This has been another episode of Texas Women in Music. I'm your host, Shauna Rose. Until next time, keep celebrating women who make Texas music shine.